was to listen.
Folks, so the microphone situation is a little different than usual.
I don't like to share.
Inputs.
I don't like to share.
You can, you're the one at that table right there. You can snag that one. But yeah, if you could just kind of direct the mic towards yourself when you speak, that would be great. And I'll try my best to make you sound good. Thank you. Sound good. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's taking up more space.
I know it is. I can use the touchpad too, but it's not more.
Recording in progress.
I don't know, couldn't even, I just turned mine. Quick. Good.
Next year we'll be ready for the marathon.
I'm trying to work on it.
Well, I can freelance it, just, you know.
I'll try to get everybody free for the next meeting.
Yeah.
You're back. Missing David.
I know.
So, do we have any public requests for this session?
Of course.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Good, John.
This joint session of the Tourist Advisory Committee and the City Council, starting here at 3:30 on, what is today?
22nd.
The 22nd of May. If we may have a pledge of allegiance, David, if you'd lead us. Sure.
Please stand. Remove your headgear. face the flag, put your hand over your heart and say with me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Because of this special meeting, we've got just a few individual items and no general sessions or presentations. So the speaking requests have come up individually for these items. So if we'll start off with Keith, if you want to speak to us on, in general, over all of these items.
I'd like to point out that the timer is not working, so Sophia will be giving you hand signals.
I'll be fast.
Nice answer.
I've got so many issues today with the TAC, the way the council's handling the TAC and more, that I kind of hardly know where to begin. But that said, let's start here. Item number 1A calls for discussion and possible direction to staff, not the council, regarding existing contracts with Stiletto and Icelet. But items 4E and F on the council's agenda tonight call for approving these items. How does the TAC have a discussion that might advise staff while the council is set to approve these items anyway tonight? You, the TAC members, can discuss these items all you want to, but as you can see, the council isn't really listening, and advising staff becomes a non-issue. It seems to me that your previous chair got steamrolled out of her position because she dared to use her expertise in marketing to investigate and make recommendations. Now the remaining people on this committee are supposed to be advising staff on marketing issues. And which staff are you advising anyway, now that the marketing manager is gone? My recommendation to this committee is to admit that you don't really have the expertise to advise anyone on marketing issues, except in general terms, and recommend to the council, not the staff, that they either hire a marketing firm that can do it all, or hire a marketing manager that can. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Ms. Elamine?
She stepped out for a minute.
Okay, well, until she has returned, then we will just continue on.
You guys gotta direct the mics towards yourself, so like, you gotta share mics, please.
Okay. Keep it over here until somebody needs it. Good.
It's not going to the house speakers because it'll feedback since we're pointing at them.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, so, City Manager, if you would introduce this item 1A, please.
Certainly. It is to request direction and discussion and request and possible direction to staff regarding tourism marketing contracts with Icelet and Stiletto. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I don't know if that's Icelet or Idlet. Anyway, I'm blaming it on being the new guy, sorry. And add additional scope of work and to extend the term. As the staff report points out, Council has previously approved a short 2-month agreement with both of these agencies to provide tourism marketing content while the city recruits new marketing staff and/or another agency. Given the fact that the new city manager will not have adequate time to do all of this before the end of June, we're requesting direction from the council and TAC regarding the tourism marketing contracts. Staff has discussed the possibility of extending these agreements through the end of the year with both agencies, and they are interested. Consequently, staff requests that the joint body recommend to the council that they approve the contract extension at the regular meeting to be held later today. And to address the issue that was just brought up, obviously, if the body does not approve it, those items will be pulled from the consent agenda later.
Thank you very much.
Can we probably should have done this before you read 1A. Can we make a motion to reorder the agenda? Because I think if we leave, for example, this contract extension question and direction that you're asking for, Randy, to the end of the marketing section of the meeting, we might have there might be dependencies and other discussion that would draw a different conclusion or a firm conclusion on, for example, 1A. So I would think we want to take a look at reordering, not adjusting, but just reordering what we talk about today.
I'm sorry, I forgot about that, but you're right. Obviously, it's your question of the council.
All right, do you want to reorder? It makes sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, then we would like to reorder it then, please, and that means we'll move 1A to the end.
Okay, we could do that.
Do you have any other order changes?
I would also sorry, anybody else? Can we move the marketing events and managers position also to the end? Because hopefully what we get through in the workshop orientation you have us in, we can also best identify what roles and responsibilities are preserved for the marketing manager as opposed to, say, contractors or other things we're going to define in budget, marketing plan, and the TAC, right? So those three things should probably come before we get to contractors and city manager. And maybe even to throw up a softball, I might suggest the Solvang USA website is something we could open with. I don't think anyone's going to debate that we need to update that. Anybody?
I won't debate that. The problem I'm having with all of this is that we don't have a plan. We don't have a strategy. We don't have a lot of things in place. So the decision process and all of the sequences of all of these are in question in my mind. And whether we assign or extend these contracts for these two agencies that are working for us right now, I don't think is dependent upon getting a marketing manager because we don't know enough to get a marketing manager yet. So I'm confused by this whole process, actually. We're talking about a marketing budget, but we don't know if we're going to hire somebody. We're talking about direction to the TAC when we've got all kinds of different issues about what is the strategy, how are we going to proceed. So to a degree, I have a problem with the whole agenda. Speak up, please.
It'd be possible to discuss all these items and withhold action on each one.
They all need to be discussed. There's no debate there. These are all the issues on the table, Randy. You captured everything we need to discuss.
It's the action
But
items.
it's whether we take action or not. And is there something we're going to reveal in any of these action items that is a dependency on the next set of decisions or discussion topics? So marketing plan is such a holistic topic. We do need to understand what's remaining in the budget for the rest of the fiscal year and next fiscal year, because we have a period adjustment in the middle. And then we need to understand what's the impact if we were to extend the contracts, but more importantly, like for the contractors doing social media and doing PR. But most importantly, we need to kind of define what are the marketing activities we're going to commit dollars to in the marketing plan, kind of as the initial opener. Does anybody have a thought on that?
You know, I'm still confused. Give me a starting place.
Marketing plan.
Okay.
Big
Which is
topic.
which one?
D. No, sorry, 1D. Do you want me to suggest an order?
Yes.
Okay, maybe we do 1D first, 1F second, 1C, which is marketing budget third, the TAC role and responsibility, which is 1E, we could do that fourth. Events and the manager position, do we hire somebody? Would be fifth, and then sixth would be extend the contracts for Stiletto and Islet. Would that be logical?
Council members?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
The action is,
TAC? Yeah. Okay, okay.
Very good. All right, so, based on that, then we'll start. I believe Ms. Elamine is back here with public comment on 1D as in Delta.
Are we doing public comment?
Yeah, on each element.
Okay, gotcha.
We just don't have general comment.
Okay, I'm thoroughly confused, but I'm going to try to figure this out. One is the discussion and possible directions to staff regarding the TAC committees, no, the marketing plan. Okay, all right. So I'm just talking about the marketing plan. I'm assuming that we don't have a marketing plan, that the marketing plan that we had went out the window when the TAC committee went out the window also. So we're starting back from 0 in the month of June. Or is this the agency that you guys recommended for 3 months? Is that the marketing plan? I'm so confused about this marketing and tourism plan here. So I'm just a taxpayer and I'm just giving money out. So I'm just here trying to find out what it is you're doing with the money that I'm giving out. Are you reaping any benefits on it, or are you just passing it out? So I would like to get a better understanding on where my taxpayer dollars are going. I'm just thoroughly confused with this agenda, and I've been reading it for like a week now. So I'm going to talk about on each one, and hopefully when we get to number 6, I'll be an A student and I'll be able to answer all the questions that I have. But at this point, when you guys discuss D, can we just talk about the marketing plan and what each one of you guys' plan is, and for what are you planning this for, and how much is this going to cost, and what is it going to result in? What profit are we going to make, or what tourism, or what is it going to bring to the city of Solvang, not just to a couple businesses or business owners in this city of Solvang? Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other public slips. Anybody else want to speak? All right, thank you. All right.
Yes, I would like to speak.
Oh, we've got a public comment on Zoom.
We got somebody on Zoom. Oh, my apologies. I didn't see a Zoom screen. Please, go ahead.
Yes, I am Brenda K. Ball, and I thank you, Mayor and City Council and TAC, for the opportunity to address you today. I've been asked to offer my assistance due to my years of experience in marketing Solvang. As you know, I will give you a little brief. What is a successful travel marketing? It's a process of exploring, creating, and delivering value to meet the needs of a target market. Selection of attributes to emphasize in advertising and operation of advertising campaigns, attendance at trade shows and public events, sharing PR with the media and with people believed to influence travel plans of others. So here's my suggestions of how to proceed with marketing Solvang successfully. Here's 9 destination marketing strategies to attract more visitors. Number 1, define the destination's unique selling points and brand involving all stakeholders. Number 2, define the target audience and market. Number 3, utilize data for analytics. Number 4, maintain an amazing destination website. Number 5, continually improve search engine optimization. Number 6, social media strategies, plus experience and video marketing. Number 7, promote Solvang to newswire services and travel websites. Number 8, develop online advertising strategies. And number 9, work with influencers. And what I want to say next may apply to some of the other agenda items, but perhaps it would be helpful if I said it right now. Moving on to leadership and teamwork. Solvang needs one marketing leader, an experienced marketing contractor who presents a marketing framework and marketing strategies and goals to an ad hoc committee for consensus, and then to the city manager for presentation to the city council. Moving forward, Over 1.5 billion people book travel per year, 70% of which is done online. Because AI is a fact of life, AI will pull information from a website with page authority. Solvang's page authority currently is 49. According to SEMrush, page authority above 60 is considered excellent. Next, building a mobile-first website, then expanding the website to the desktop is vital so that AI will pull correct information and facts about Solvang. PR and social media, they all fit and work together. Developed and expanded PR from the website content and pointing back to the website, thus building a cohesive content strategy to find information about Solvang.
Brenda?
Yes.
Your 3 minutes are up. I'm going to stop you here. We can bring you back for the other areas of this if you'd like to speak again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Was there anybody else on Zoom that wanted to speak on this subject?
Yes, this is John Sorgenfry. I think I have I don't know if I did it properly, but I raised my hand on the Zoom call.
We're in a different configuration than normal, Ms. Sorgenfry,
Okay.
and so we got you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, great. Well, again, I prepared some comments. I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time, but I think I would just go ahead and go for it. I'm John Sorgenfry, the owner of TJA Advertising, and I just wanted to offer our help in any way we can for the tourism marketing. I learned from watching some of the tourism board meetings that evidently we were the runner-up in the RFP selection. And so many of you are familiar with myself and our firm. Solvang's a wonderful, unique, and beautiful destination, and it deserves excellent professional marketing by a firm that knows tourism marketing. I sincerely recommend that you hire one good, experienced marketing firm who knows and understands tourism marketing to do it all for you long-term. I'm not talking about your short-term things you're considering today. And we hope that TJA would be that firm in the future. Here's what I would recommend regarding timing, and I agree with many things that Brenda said, by the way. First of all, I would produce new creative content, new pictures, videos, copy, and then update the website as needed with the new content, any new software that's necessary. Then once the website refresh is done, the social media content could also be utilized, all that new creative that would be created, which would happen right now. And once the website is done and the social media is coordinated under the same roof, so it complements the rest of the marketing to do a targeted advertising campaign, perhaps in the late summer, early fall, and not until then, until the website's ready to get those responses. Having separate companies long-term during the various tasks will be difficult, and I assure you not as productive. Your website, social media, advertising should all be done and working in tandem, and that could be done much better by one qualified, fair, honest, and full-service advertising partner, and we'd like for you to consider that as TJA. This is not to take anything away from the companies that you're considering doing the work temporarily, but you need to have a proven service tourism marketing agency for your best long-term success. If you look at the RFP we submitted, you have pretty close to a marketing plan already in front of you, which outlined all the goals, the target audiences, when things should be executed. It should be modified, of course, now with starting later in the year, but a lot of it's there, and I urge you to read it again if you haven't. We've been a partner with Pismo Beach doing all their tourism marketing for over 20 years. We've done the same thing for Avila for over 20 years as well, and in the past we did Morro Bay for over 25 years. We measure our clients' longevity not by months or even years, but we measure it by decades. And I assure you, and I promise you, if given the opportunity, we could continue to have that long-term success and partnership with Solvang. I think we just need to have that opportunity. But I would be happy to offer any assistance free of charge in the meantime to help you figure out a plan of attack and do some of the things and look at the RFP and modify it, again, at no cost, and have something before you that could give you more of an orchestrated plan and a timing that I think all of you are in need of. And I love Solvang, and I'd love to have the opportunity. And I appreciate your hearing my comments.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Did we have anybody else that wanted to say something?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak to you.
Sure,
I'll be brief.
please.
And Keith.
I didn't introduce myself before because my name was called, but I'm Keith Adler. I'm a Solvang resident. You just had two brilliant speakers. Listen to them, adjourn the meeting, and just have them, help you come up with an RFP to hire one marketing firm that can do it all. That's all. It's not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen, okay? All due respect to the TAC, you don't need the TAC to do this. You need the two people that just spoke. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there's his comments, Mr. Adler's comments are pretty valid. What we need, obviously, is somebody to help us out. The problem that I see, and I'd like everybody else's opinion, I'm the only one talking so far, and that's not fair, is that we have our tourist season on us now. We don't have a lot of time to go out with RFPs and everything else. So getting somebody in here immediately short-term to help us figure out what it is we need, maybe help us select a marketing manager, we'll discuss that in a little bit, or pick a marketing agency is something that I think needs to be done. So what we have here in this particular area is a tourism marketing plan. That's the question right now. I would like to hear comments from the TAC and from the council members on what you think would be a reasonable plan of approach, considering that we have, we need to get started now, and then we need to figure out a long-term goal.
I have a comment.
Please,
I think,
turn the microphone, yeah.
I think because of, ever since COVID coming forward, Solvang has certainly gotten itself more on the map than it was before. From the other city managers up and down the coast that I've spoken to over the last 5 years, the TJ, I think we're doing this exactly backwards. And I think that we should put out, we're going to have visitors. Maybe there'll be a little bit of a dip if we don't have the marketing agency here by July 4th. There may be a little bit of a dip. Solvang, as the late Hazel Mortensen said, is like Disneyland. People know that we're here. I have heard so many great things about TJA from city managers up and down the coast.
Yeah.
They've already made an RFP, that we know who they are, we know what they can do. They are a staple on the Central Coast. I would like to do a rapid RFP and bypass everything we're doing here tonight and have somebody tell us what our marketing plan is, and then we vote on it, and then we discuss it. That's my opinion.
So I'll make a comment to respond, and I want to hear from the TAC or anyone who was in the council or the TAC before June of last year when we did the original RFP and made a contractor selection. We selected Abby. Is that right? But Abby didn't work. We had a marketing plan and a contractor. We had what we're talking about right now. So what didn't work? Did we have the wrong agency, the wrong partner, the wrong model of engagement, not enough data to respond to how they were performing? Because it would be yet another waste of dollars that everyone seems to be concerned about if we hire yet another agency and we find ourselves in the same spot. That would be a repeat. Let's not do that.
We hired a firm out of Reno that was an unknown entity but had a nice RFP, whereas TJA has a known track record in cities similar to Solvang. I actually, when I first approached, if I can say this, I first approached the city manager up north, and I felt that he wouldn't be willing to share, if you will, an agency with the reputation of TJA, and he says, oh my goodness, we don't compete with you, we're beach town, you're this, you're that, and he just extolled their virtues, and I, from that point, because I trust him so much, I was hooked. I'm very, very impressed with TJA, and that's where I'm leaning towards everything right now.
TAC members, please, or yes, ma'am.
Okay. I will go ahead and echo the Mayor Pro Tem's comments about we did this. We hired a professional. We hired a marketing manager, and it did not work. I think part of the problem was that we are still filling in gaps from the Solvang CVB being defunded, and all of a sudden finding ourselves with the question of who's going to produce who Jewel Fest, who's going to fill in all of these gaps, and coming up with a quick patch with Cox and Marble, formerly IDK. And what we have found through that contract and then the contract with Abby is that these are agencies that are not in town. They don't have local representatives. They don't have any communication with local organizations or businesses so that they can include their input in our marketing program. And I am not going to say that the Solvang CBV did not have its problems, but one thing that I did love about them is that whenever Jewel Fest came around, they would go to every single business and say, hey, we're putting on this event. Are you doing an open house? What do you have going on? We'd like to include it in the program. And we did have somebody that we could reach out over at a local bakery and say, hey, I have this concern or I have this idea. There was a local office where anybody could talk to. So I think this is something that is worth considering. In fact, I thought that the whole point of having this meeting is that we can all get on the same page and figure out what it is going to do before we come up with another marketing contract that we're not sure who is managing and we don't know what the expectations are. One problem that I have with just going and selecting somebody based on a proposal that they submitted is that I know it's very frustrating. It's government. We have checks and balances, but we are using taxpayer money to award these contracts, and they should be awarded fairly. I know it's less than ideal that going to FRP takes such a long time, but it takes away the sense of impropriety that we're meeting with friends and agencies that we have prior relationships with, and we are awarding them their contracts without the opportunity for other businesses, other marketing firms to apply. I would not go for the option of just selecting somebody based on them speaking today because it should be a fair process. So that being said, I think it's fair to say, let's extend whatever contracts we have right now until we figure out what to do, but let's really think about that. And those are my comments. More to come.
Thank you. Anybody on the TAC? We haven't heard from any of you folks yet. You want to say something, anybody? Go ahead. Grab a microphone, please.
Here you go, Alex.
Thank you. In regards to the Abbey agency, you asked what some of the issues we had with the Abbey agency were, people who've been on the committee since before we hired them. For me, there are two things, the two big issues I had. And the first one was, as Council Member Aronia said, was the lack of local presence. There was definitely a disconnect working with them and not having boots on the ground. They did a trip out here, it was expensive, and they're only here for a few days. And that meant that we're being charged a lot for very little local presence. So that was the first thing. But the even bigger thing was talking about data. When they presented their data to us, it was very surface. It was about follower counts, things like that, views, but they weren't talking about things like SEO and things that Ms. Ball talked about, where we're actually looking at how Solvang's appearing in search engines and through these different aggregators. We weren't looking at that. They weren't giving us that data. And if we're going to be paying all this money for talent, especially if it's somebody who's out of the community and we're trying to get supposed outside talent, they should be offering us something that's different, offering us something that's better. And that means real data and not just that surface reporting. And I think the technology around this is rapidly changing right now, and we need to have our finger on that if we're going to be spending this money. So I agree with Ms. Ball that it needs to be a more data-driven approach.
In the absence of data, it was really hard to hold your agency accountable for where you were unclear what they were
Exactly.
telling you to do, right? You needed more to back up their recommendations?
Yeah, so it's, recommendations. So that, actually, with the data, there are two aspects of it. One is marketing efforts. How much is it actually benefiting the city of Solvang? are the dollars that we're spending translating into tourists booking hotels or coming here to visit? That's the first thing. The second thing would be actually using our data to develop new strategies. And I just didn't feel like there was.
That's
Yeah.
a maturity question, though. You gotta crawl before you walk, right?
Mhm.
Data, we just need to know who our customer is and then figure out how we market
Exactly.
more efficiently to them. Okay.
Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Excuse me. So I'm new to the TAC this year. It was clear from the first meeting when Abby presented that they were not delivering upon the things that the TAC was expecting. And going back and looking at their original proposals and contract, they were falling short of what they committed to. So I think the decision for the parties to part ways was the right one. I think that we need to figure out a solution to keep the wheels on while we go back and revisit RFPs to get the right third-party partner. And I think what the TAC has talked about is having Islet and Stiletto help us keep the wheels on while we go back and do the right thing. I don't think we can have things come to a grinding halt while we go through a full-blown RFP. So I think my personal opinion is we follow parallel paths and do the RFP the right way, but we keep the wheels on while we're doing that.
You want to speak? Sure. Go for it, Kim.
So, in regards to Abby, I also thought that we didn't get clear, concise information regarding the website. And as you all know, the website has not gone anywhere. And I think there was too much time and money spent on the website without any just results, and we know that. And I see us having an issue still going down the road. Whether we go down that road again, that's for all of us to decide at a later point. But we need a website, period, to push this along, because whatever experience or whatever information we come up with or strategy they're going to come up with, whomever is going to do that has to put it out there somewhere, somehow, some way. And I'm hoping that we can come up with that information. But I also felt like when I was on the SCVB, and that's how it was done before, if we get everyone who has a piece of from the community, whether it's retail, restaurants, hoteliers, wineries, they all have a piece of the pie. They have to have some skin in the game in this. And without skin in the game, we have to be able to listen to them. The present TAC, we're trying to help the marketing manager. The marketing manager is going to be the strategist. That's the one that's going to do all this. We're trying to let them know, coming from what some of you have said, is that we want to let them know the boots on the ground hear you, or no, we don't hear you. So you need to change that and flip that. And we didn't feel we got that from Abby too much. They had their things that they wanted to do, and they kind of molded it to make sure that we felt like that's what we're doing. And as we came through, it seemed like every time we had a meeting, we'll get back to you on the next meeting. We'll get back to you on the next meeting. And that's how it's tended to go. So to say going forward, whomever we're going with, I mean, having Stiletto here, we have to move forward because we're already in the summer. Summer's done. We got to think about the fall. And going back to, I'm not trying to go back to SCVB, but I'm telling you, there was a calendar. We followed that calendar to a T, and we also were speaking to others, the Visit St. Inez. We were talking to other community members, whatever groups they were. Visitor Center was that way of talking. So I didn't think Abby was really speaking to everyone else. So we would all cross-communicate so that everybody had an opportunity to be on the same page. We're not overlapping on our advertisement or speaking. And I think if we can have someone who is going to work with us and then also communicate to other groups within the community, that we have an opportunity there where we can really hit the road hard. And that includes even going to visit California. I mean, when Tracy Farhard was here, if we didn't have money, we shared a spot with the Visit California group, and that brought people here. We shared space with the Chumash up and down the coast, wherever they went. We shared, okay? But we also brought back information, and they gave us a piece of the table to let us have a piece of the strategy, and we showed that strategy. And I thought it went really well. I'm hoping that we can come up with something similar to that within this group.
question, Kim, on that point. Was it SV, was it, thank you.
It's going to be awkward. Yeah, we need someone new with them. The SCVB, did they proactively interconnect with Visit California and the casino and other entities, or was that a directive?
No,
Did,
that was sorry.
so they knew to do that?
They knew, Tracy knew how to do that. That was part of, and that the person coming in would have to, because you have to share. There's no way we can afford it.
I agree. I'm just making actually a point, because if we don't dictate what we need from the agency or the entity or even the TAC, if we don't clearly define exactly what our expectations are to get a positive outcome, then we're subject to whatever they decide to deliver.
And that's why I would say that the marketing manager that will or would come in would have to be part of that and would be willing to clearly communicate to them, and then at the same time let the TAC know. TAC's going to come back and say, no, do this instead, or can you do that instead? So there's some clear communication, so we're making sure we touch A, the retail stores, B, the hoteliers, et cetera, et cetera.
One last comment, because I want to hear from the TAC. We're on a roll. But I think one observation is that where we have the city manager, the marketing manager, the TAC, and the council, and our businesses all have different opinions and perspectives on what we would be getting from an agency. Unless we're lock solid on what we would be getting, we risk a divergence of opinions and judgment of whether the agency is doing an effective job or not. So in my mind, the marketing plan, it could be so simple, but it's got to be super defined and very clear to anyone, everyone, what we're getting from that contract.
This is one of the comments that we received from Mr., I believe his name is Sorgenfrey from TJA. He was saying that, coming in, he was saying at no charge, to help us define what it is that we want that strategy to be. How do we define who works with whom? Do we set up an SCVB again? Do we keep the TAC? Do we leave all of Visit San Ynez Valley site to handle all the hotels and we handle all the businesses? There's a whole bunch of decisions that could be made, but should be made by somebody that understands marketing and knows the area and knows the technology and knows that. So maybe him. There was another gentleman, I believe, that's probably online that is interested in doing a similar thing for us. So we've got an opportunity, but we need, I don't know, help me. Do we need one person? Or do we need all of us to say?
That's what I'm saying. I have a question, if I may. Is having a TAC, an in-house marketing manager, and a firm like Stiletto or TJA, is there some redundancy here?
Could be.
If I can So when we founded the TAC, I thought it was a great idea to have different stakeholders in the community to give their input and give direction to whoever is doing their marketing about which way we are gonna go, because obviously the five of us in council, we have other things that we handle. We're not necessarily familiar with marketing, so you bring some extra expertise. My question here is that because it is a Brown Act body, or it's, subject to the same regulations that the council is, they don't have the freedom to act more effectively, to meet more, to discuss things in more of a frank way, and that is also impeding on the effectiveness of whoever is doing the marketing. I look back at what the Solvang CBB was doing, how they were structured, and originally I thought, well, it doesn't make sense to go through the problems of creating basically a nonprofit organization with a board if we can bypass that. I kind of like the idea that I thought a government-based committee could have more. It could have better oversight, because one of the problems that we had with the Solvang CBB model is that a lot of people complained that there was lack of oversight, lack of ways to know how the funds were being spent. But now that I see that maybe if it's its own entity and, it still has a board that has stakeholders and, books should be open. Anybody should be able to ask, hey, how are our tax dollars being spent? And they should be able to see that. But I think that model might be more effective for marketing because then they're not waiting until the next meeting to have the presentation and decide what they're going to do and put it on the agenda and wait until the other meeting so that we can discuss it and take action on it. So that's one reason why I think maybe a similar organization would be more effective rather than, the TAC overseeing the marketing manager, maybe have a board of directors that works with a marketing manager, but it's its own entity rather than, part of the city. Yes.
Nonprofit separates non-paid individuals in a nonprofit organization. It might be a paid one, I think a big principal officer. Because they wouldn't have a Brown Act violation. They could talk anytime they wanted to and come up with ideas.
Yeah. And, we would request that they be transparent about what they're doing. They have to have certain obligations. They can't just get free money and they can spend it how they want. But I would like them to be able to be effective. Yeah.
Okay, TAC members, what do you think about that? We'll get rid of you guys, and we'll come up with an SCVB.
Well, I do think that the Brown Act requirements made it clunky. And I think it made it a bit inefficient. So I think that if there's another model out there, I'm not familiar with what was in place before, but if there's another model out there that isn't encumbered by some of the requirements that were placed on the TAC, that would be worthy of consideration, in my opinion.
Okay, just going back to the SCVB, there was times when we had special meetings, but we still had to come to the city, had to make sure there was an announcement or there was a calendar set, and we had to at least give 3 days notice, okay? So we could do something. Something comes up, and I believe the movie, the Solvang, the Christmas movie that we just have put in, that came under a situation where we were able to get that under by doing something there, and it got, because we were able to act on it, it happened sooner than later. So that are the things that come up, potentially, if we have something, wrapping a bus up at on top of the mountain there in Hearst Castle. Thank you, Aaron. Hearst Castle, we had the wrapping. So that came up. It was a $10,000 thing, but we ended up doing that. We ended up doing it for like 3 to 4 years, but it wrapped up Solvang on each of the buses. It came up at the last minute. Those are the things that, do we have that in our budget to do? We did happen to have it. But can you imagine, all of a sudden we have to stop, we want to do it, oh, someone else is going to come in and do it there. So it allows you to be unhandcuffed to do that kind of thing. Whether we do that or not, that's up to the marketing manager and what strategy they're going to do going forward. But it does take the handcuffs off a little bit sooner. But I'm going to tell you at the same time, I was sitting down with people regarding the books, in QuickBooks, we went through everything too. So there's an oversight on that, and they could check on us anytime. And we had an accountant with us who always made sure at each of our meetings that, Tracy, we don't want to go down that road. It smells like bad cheese. So we would just not do it. So we have to play that game correctly as well. So, and I think that there's something to be said about that. Whether that can happen under the present plan, that's up to all of us. Or you all.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak on this?
This is maybe a question for Mr. Fleischman, but are we able to have a committee that reports to the city manager and not have that committee be subject to Brown Act violations? Is that?
Well, the short answer is yes. There's a way to do it. If the city manager puts together a committee, it's not formed by the formal action of the city council, and therefore it's not subject to the Brown Act. There are a number of agencies that I've worked with that do that kind of thing where it's a city manager's committee. City manager can obviously take input from the city council as to who might be on that committee, but the mission is more important necessarily than the people on the committee providing that input to the city manager. It can be a community advisory, it can be members of staff, it can be whoever the city manager thinks is necessary to advise him or her, him in this case, on what the direction of the city council is. So if the city council says, we want A, city manager says, I need someone who's good at doing A. I'm going to talk with this person, and that doesn't require conformity with the Brown Act. But if you want to have that oversight role, that's what the Brown Act is specifically for. It's the open meeting law or sunshine law to allow the public to see what's going on with the recognition that it does add additional time, energy, and work to provide the agendas, provide the minutes, provide the meetings in general that may not be consistent with the efficiencies that are necessary to turn on a dime for some of these actions.
And an SCVB-like structure wouldn't be able to provide that oversight role either, correct?
Well, just for historical purposes, the SCVB was a private corporation. It had a private board of directors. It received funding from the city. I'm not sure if it received significant funding from other entities, but it did get funding from other entities. And so it was responsible to its board of directors as a nonprofit corporation. It did not have the same kind of oversight that a Brown Act committee established by the city council would have, but it does have oversight in sense of it is responsible to the attorney general as a nonprofit. In other words, it has to justify the nonprofit status to be able to continue that.
Thank you. Sorry, the SCVB is a little bit before my time in Solvang, so I had to ask the question. Thank you.
Excellent questions, excellent. Tracy?
I think one of the things I'm hearing here, no matter what, is people don't understand the tourism that comes into this town with taxpayer dollars. It generates everything for the residents. It generates for the general fund. And I think there's some opportunity here for the city council to report out every council meeting or once a month at the end of the month, what is those taxpayers doing? And we don't do that enough. We are not educating our local residents of what these tours does for the community. And that is the first thing. It's to tell what the marketing dollars do, how much money you're bringing in on TOT, and then what you're sending out to visit SYV, because they're getting $3 a night stay per hotel room, and they're doing marketing. We have to work in conjunction with our partnerships, with Visit SYV. We don't need to duplicate what they're doing already. We have Visit California, as everyone has already said. The content is free, video content. Our biggest challenge is midweek stays. Is the midweek stays for our hotels. No matter who's doing it, it's not happening. We need to focus on more women's groups. Women shop. People like to come on bus trips. I brought 3 bus trips that we're already working with. We used to have a lot more that Tracy did. Those are what's missing from whatever marketing program that we're doing with Orange County, Los Angeles, and Sacramento. And they are on the trips as people are talking continuously now, and just more media. And, you know, I've said that all along for the last few months, that we do need a POI officer for this city of Solvang. That is something I think we need no matter what for there. And I will say this, I was the only person that voted against Abbey Agency and did vote for that. And I did my referrals, and the referrals didn't check out. And that was the one thing I don't think happened was the past city manager said they would check referrals, and those referrals were not checked, because exactly what happened has happened with Abbey Agency. So thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, if we have no more comments on this element, since we're not going to make a decision on this one right this minute, let's go to the next element. Oh, you may make a comment. Yes.
Just one comment on marketing plan, and I'm going to go back to Brenda Ball's comments as well. We have, not everyone, I realize, saw all of the RFP responses, especially the public, I think, or were they made public? The original RFP responses?
Every RFP was made public. Every RFP is
Fantastic.
been on the line. Yes, it was.
Okay, so we have 4 versions of a marketing plan. So we could do a small amount of work, but accept and adopt some common components of those marketing plans to say, these are the components of Solvang's marketing plan. It is for destination marketing. It includes social media, includes press releases, it includes the website, it includes online ads and media outreach. Some of it includes campaigns, and some elements define a search engine and digital data analytics strategy. Not all of them, but some of them do. But those are essentially the major elements of a marketing plan. What's in that and what we actually do, are we marketing Solvang like Denmark, but closer, but sunnier? That was the campaign we committed to. But we didn't really see that campaign get rolled out, right? It was, I think, sort of fits and starts. We could write a very simple RFP that says, let's hire a facilitator agency who's very good at this and walk us through what is that campaign and how does that manifest in the 5 or 6 elements that we commit to: the website, the social media presence, the press releases and the media presence, and the interlock, I should have said that, with the other marketing entities that are relevant in the Valley or California that we think are valuable for us. That could define our marketing plan, but that means we still walk and chew gum. We still do what we're doing right now with pushing content and media with the help from Stellato and the help from Islet. So we don't stop what we're doing. And then one more thing we have to add is events. So we need a calendar, and we need events. We need a lockdown on the events we're committed to, but then be a little more strategic on what do we add to augment the events to drive more people into the city. So that could get us somewhere in a relatively short period of time.
David?
What do you think?
Yeah, real quick, listening to all this, I've got a couple of things that the marketing aspect is somewhat different than the model of which it's based upon. And what concerns me is the interoperability between all the different departments, all the different people engaged in this. If it's a TAC and then it's got to go to another marketing manager and then they go to the agency, it's a cluster. I won't use the adjective, but there's. Thank you. It'll be in the LA Times tomorrow. But the problem is that there's no accountability with that level and that kind of model. We want to create a marketing plan and system that has accountability ultimately to us and we're ultimately responsible to the community and the citizens that live here in Solvang. So I want to keep that in mind, that keep it as simple as possible for the best accountability and the best results.
Totally agree. Just one thought on that, because you just moved on to the next couple of topics. So if we agree on the plan, because for whatever reason the agenda has that as an item we want to action or not, then we figure out how we govern that plan and which bodies will do that.
Let me play the ringleader here for a second. We're halfway through a 2-hour meeting, and we're on discussion item number 1 out of 6. We're not going to make it. Okay, so if we're going to make some decisions, we're going to have to start going through these a little bit more quickly. Or are we just going to continue to discuss this and leave it up to the council to make decisions later on?
I have a suggestion.
Please.
Do the minimal to keep it going, put out an RFP and get a marketing company to do everything.
How long does it take to put out an RFP?
Who's going to write the RFP?
Right.
I don't.
That's the problem. We need to have immediate support, and so putting out an RFP is going to delay things. Randy?
After consultation with council, we did an RFP. The second place finisher was TJA. We do not need to go with another RFP if that is the agency we choose to select. If we want to go a different direction, am I correct in that? Okay. You gave me a look. I was like, did I say something wrong?
Just listening more intently.
Okay, sorry. So that is an option. And again, as Councilmember Arona, no relation to the other, I know that paper always says that, mentioned, that the idea of extending the contract gives us that additional time. As I wrote in the staff report, I believe, each of those contracts has a 10-day cancellation process. So if we get into October and we've retained another agency, then we ask the two of them to help transition, and then they walk away. So again, that was part of the logic behind that.
Here's a question to staff. Whoever's doing our marketing, PR, who do they report to? Who in staff oversees it?
Right now, me.
Okay. Because we can hire somebody to do it, but if there's not one person that is in charge of it, then, there's no oversight. So I really think that we need to find the one person that's going to be in charge of it. And I don't think it can be Randy. So I think we need to find the marketing manager before we do this. And then it might be that the marketing manager decides that an all-inclusive agency is a huge waste of money. Why are we paying $600,000 to somebody when most of what they do is social media work, which costs anywhere from $150,000 to $5,000 on the high end? And if that is most of what they do, they might decide we work with a few people. This is how we piece our marketing plan together. We do not need an all-in-one company. And mostly the problem that I have with an all-in-one company is that they're expensive and they're not even based from here. So I would say that we need the person that's going to be in charge of overseeing this whole thing before we move forward with whatever contract.
I personally like that idea. We have to be careful when we say expensive, because we're talking $300,000 a year, and the last budget for SCVB was $800,000 a year.
Yes, but that included our visitor center. And that included certain event production. So it wasn't, and I'm not saying that that's how much it should cost, but I'm just saying it's a little different. That included a lot more than our current contract includes.
So right now, I think what I'm hearing from most of us is we need to have somebody to give us a little bit of direction. An RFP or just hiring TJA is probably a great solution. And maybe the idea of that is just we do it for 6 months and figure out what's going to happen. We don't give them a full 2-year contract if they're willing to do that.
But what are they going to do that Stiletto and Islet are not doing already?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not a marketing person.
How can you make that statement then?
Because they are marketing experts.
But you don't know what they're going to do for you.
Okay, so if we get them to... That's why we do the RFP. All right. My assumption would be that we would bring them in to write a scope of work that would work with Stiletto and Islet. Islet. Yeah, those guys.
I like that idea.
It gives us a chance to work with all of these three, help us define what it would take to be a marketing manager so we can hire an appropriate one if that's the choice we want to go to. We're jumping all over this agenda.
If I can introduce myself. Can I throw in something very quickly? To allow someone like TJA to participate in crafting your scope of work is going to result in a 1090 violation if they're also the contractor later on. So you have to be careful about separating that function. Islet and the other company may be able to provide you input on what they think an appropriate marketing coordinator, marketing manager, or marketing company, whatever you want to call it, what are the highlights that you would be looking for in that would help inform how you make that selection. But for TJA to come in and write the specs, there's just too much potential for abuse in having a contractor write the specs for what they are competing for.
Valid.
What I'd like to say is when we had Cheryl working, Cheryl did Yule Fest, but the committee did a lot of the work. and we have Sue Lee here, and I'm not going to put her on the spot, but she did probably a good $10,000 worth of work on that of time. She also has a contract right now. I would say in some ways, keep where we're at with Stiletto and Islay right now. Why are we so right now trying to find a marketing company? Why don't we see how we weather for the summer? We need someone to do events is what we really need. And that is what our business community needs. They want to be brought back, something like the Taste of Solvang, the Grape Stomp, more family-friendly events was what was told back to us at the Chamber of Commerce. And when we did, that is what we need. We need somebody to work and hold, but I would suggest maybe looking at working with Sue Lee, working for the holiday season, and let's figure it out slowly. We're already into the summer. It's not going to matter, and we're just so apt to want to spend more money. And let's look at how we spend money and what we're doing a little bit more. And I'll bet you Stiletto and Islay will give us what we need. And let's work with our partnership and see how we can work with Visit SYV and what they're doing for us. We've never done that before. This has never been done. They work with their hotel association.
I like that idea, Tracy, because then we build up and add what's missing. So we've got Facebook, we've got social media, we've got press releases, we've got a little bit of media because I can't remember which, I think it's Stiletto was willing to do some advertising in the extension of their contract. So now we just add events, maybe we add one or two more things, but still the thing that's missing is data collection and the website. If we do data, what I mean is data analytics, because that's going to inform us best what is missing from an a la carte approach, which I think it assures us we're not overspending. We can be surgical about what is being impactful and driving people into the city, and we can add a function and pretty quickly and pretty real time, right? If we need more advertising, more events driven, you pick. What I think I would still advocate is, Alex's point is 100% correct. The technology is advancing very rapidly, and we're missing out on all of that. And we don't know enough about who our customers and how they want to spend money and why they're visiting the city, and we've got to get to that as quickly as we can. And just one last thing. Could we please prioritize the website? That one's got to happen.
Elizabeth, on that subject, I feel like that's a rabbit hole until you guys can come up with something there. So that could go long or short, depending, well, however you decide to go where it is right now. So, because where it is right now, it doesn't seem very, I mean, we had a problem with Abby before, and we still have had a problem with it, and getting some concrete work done on it. I don't know where you guys are at right now, but that could be something that could spend a lot of money and energy that we've already spent a lot of money and energy on to get updated. And it doesn't seem we've gone very far.
But I would still agree that we need to update that website, one way or the other.
One way or another, but I'm
And
just saying,
the-
how far do you go then?
And that's a great question, and we need somebody that knows what they're doing about websites, and I'm not the person, obviously.
Well, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'm your lawyer, but I do know a little bit about websites. Just to give you a quick update on where the status of that is,
Please.
as it's identified in, I think, one of the staff reports. It's like a 1950s car. It runs. It needs to be updated, but it needs a new garage. It's currently being hosted by Tempest. It is accessed by Abby. They still have the keys to it. I have all the files. Abby sent all the files over to me, so they can be installed on a new web server. The problem is the engine that runs the back end of it is very dated. So static pages can be put into place tomorrow. I can do that part and put them in new server space. That is not an issue. It's
Not
really,
at your rates.
Well, no, and I've done this pro bono. I've done this pro bono, Mr. Mayor. When I do the website work, I'm not doing legal work. For example, there was a complaint at one point about this, the city's, the site not serving secure pages. So I wrote a script. I had Abby put it into there. So now it's serving all secure pages. So there are little things that can be done until you get a marketing or a consultant to do the website who will move it into a new place. But ultimately, it's going to need a complete refresh. It's going to need a complete new back end, but it can be moved right now.
One of the things that was suggested by Randy, actually. We now have a Facebook page called Visit Solvang USA. So maybe we should create an all-new website called Visit Solvang USA, and then let the old one have links to connect to it until we kill the thing, and we build all new on the new technology with all of the new advantages.
I think it would be a good idea to talk with someone who is actually going to give you the SEO information about the existing domain, because one of the things about search engine optimization is you have that Visit Solvang, or you have that Solvang USA domain. That's what is appearing, and it just needs to be bumped up. When you start with a new domain, you're starting from scratch, basically, to build up that SEO. So it would, if you're going to do something like that, what you could do is what they call a test bed. You could do a fully formed website that is on a separate domain, and then it will move over and point to that once you're done with that migration. And that's what I did to test out the Solvang USA. I put it in a test bed in my own web server space to make sure it was functional. That's why I say it can be moved right away. It's just not really what you want to do long term. So there's short term on it, and then if you get a web designer, someone who knows what they're doing about it, who doesn't have a law degree backing it up, that's fine, that's a good thing, then you're going to be better served in getting the search engine optimization up and running instead of trying to do it from scratch.
Okay, we've been going through this for a little while now. Let's continue on. I'm personally at a loss. I mean, I've got a bunch of questions on a bunch of different things, but we're jumping all over the place in this conversation. We had agreed to go from 1D to 1F, and 1F was the discussion of coming up with an RFP to upgrade the website. Is that the process that we want to follow to get that the website updated? An RFP to go out?
Well, I also wonder if it would be worth it to give it back to who actually designed it and upgrade it.
So Abby did give us an audit. They did give us a readout of what was needed to a list, a to-do list of what needs to happen with the website. So we have that roadmap. Whether we agree with it or not, we have a roadmap of what needs to happen to update the back end, to update the content, to refresh the look and feel.
I'm sorry. I'd like you to be specific, please. Are we talking about Solvang USA or City?
Solvang USA website.
I want to make sure that the domain
It's on the agenda. It's the only thing we're talking about.
Thank you. I've heard other things, so thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, so we're still back to the question of how do we do this? Are we going to issue an RFP, or are we just going to go to somebody who's done it in the past? Is that what you're thinking of, like Ms. Ball?
Well, I was thinking if she built it, she might be the better person to take it back over. And it also, it's a local contact, somebody that's been doing before. If you guys want to go for RFP, I don't have a problem with that, but I thought that might be worth considering.
I don't know enough about qualifications and who's good at this or not good at this. I know Ms. Ball has been around and done a lot of the work.
Well, she built the website,
and
it doesn't
it's-
look much different from when she first did it to, all of these agencies taking it over. The website looks virtually the same, so.
There's been some issues with it, so all I recall, and I don't understand all of that, so I don't know. Tracy, you had something to say?
There are two functions that we were told that this website has been turned off. The back end of it was turned off, and Brenda did explain that at a council meeting. She explained it at a TAC meeting. IDK turned the back end off to save money. So when you don't have the functions to do everything to save money and to upgrade, that's the problem, and I think she might be on to speak to that. But the back end was turned off to save several $1,000s. So when you turn the back end off of anything, it doesn't work. It looks pretty in the front.
I'm sorry, do we have the rights to turn it back on?
Yes, we do, but it also does cost money. And there's two things you can do, but I do think it should be finding out what was turned off exactly. And Brenda did state that at a council meeting and at a TAC meeting.
All right, so we're at 1F.
Let's go back. We sorry, Mark, but let's maybe we can get settled on one agenda item. The Solvang USA website can go to RFP. We can hire somebody to update, refresh, make it current, and simply give it a better UX UI, and drive it to hotel bookings. Right? That's its main goal.
Why do you want to drive it to hotel bookings if there's an organization that books all the hotels already that we get credit for?
Because they're coming to Solvang USA, our domain, not visit SYB.
So this is a marketing strategy thing that I'm not sure that I would agree with that comment, but okay. I don't know it.
I don't think it's a disservice if our Solvang USA website leads to bookings, because that's how we pay for all of this. Somebody
Okay.
that works on the website might be able to better say if that makes sense or not, but I don't think that hurts.
Well, Mark, just from a marketing perspective, when they come to Solvang USA, we know they're specifically coming to Solvang. They're not coming to the Valley. So if they're coming to Solvang and they're calling out by name with a search engine, give me a hotel in Solvang, we should capture that booking for
Okay.
us in our town.
I don't disagree.
right? Otherwise, with Visit SYB, it could be any of the 30-ish hotels.
Okay. Fair enough. Yes, sir. Yeah, you're on.
And you could set it up as a reciprocal thing where they refer to us and we refer to them, so we both benefit.
Yes. But,
That would make a lot of
But we don't have to.
We don't have.
It's our brand.
Okay, so are we going to try and make a decision on this particular element that we go out to RFP, or at least go out and question a couple people about building our website?
I would agree to RFP it. Yes.
I'm fine with that.
All right, okay. Randy, I think you have the council direction that we'd like to put together an RFP for someone
Does
to.
the TAC agree?
Shall we make a vote?
That's certainly an option.
It's just direction to staff to put something together. And what I'm hearing from the council is there's going to be a hotel booking aspect to it. I think I've heard in past meetings some type of calendaring aspect. Some of the major features that are part of the current website, those are what would be looking for a refresh. You're not looking for new bells and whistles unless they're demonstrably an improvement over what we have right now. So, but the people that are proposing can certainly propose additional information that they think might be relevant. If they've got experience in putting these websites together, they may have other types of functions or plugins that are successful in other communities similar to Solvang, but I wouldn't foreclose that necessary. Just get the bones of a website refresh, new foundation for it, or content management system, whatever they want to call it. But it sounds like council is looking for the major features that are currently on solvangusa.com.
I would agree. Other comments?
Yes, I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Since I wrote the RFP for the current website, would you like to, I believe there is a copy of that somewhere. Perhaps you already have a record of that. It was written in 2014, and you're welcome to use it. And of course, there's a few places that would definitely need updated because of technology changes, but it will give you a place to start rather than starting from scratch. Thank you.
Do you have access to that, Randy?
Do I have access to it? I haven't found it yet. I may have access, but I haven't found it.
Brenda, then, if you would appreciate it if you would email a copy of that, if you still have it, to Randy, please.
I will do my best.
That's
Thank you very
Randy M
much.
at cityofsolvang.com.
Yes, please. Jamie?
Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Jamie with Isla Agency. I'm here with Leanna. I wanted to open us up for any questions that you may have. We started working with Solvang back in early 2020 with IDK and left 2022. So we do have those relationships and have been working with Anna. But yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself. If there's any questions, we're happy to answer anything.
Thank you very much.
Just before we move off the RFP, do we want to have the TAC review the RFP before we issue it? I think that was one of the requests from the former marketing manager.
Well, one of the questions we haven't settled yet is, do we keep the TAC? Or we suspend it? Or do we appoint a new director? What do we do with the TAC? We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
That's part of the problem.
We can give them a job before we disband them.
I like
If
that.
they have a job, then it might change your decision.
TAC, members, if we were to ask you to review an RFP for the website, would that be something you'd be willing to do?
Absolutely.
Yes. I got a uniform yes, I think, out of everybody. So we will then allow at least one more TAC meeting for that review. When's our next one planned? Is it
I think it's Wednesday,
this Wednesday?
next week.
Next week?
I'm not sure that's adequate time, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have enough time to put together the RFP for them to review?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Plus Monday's a holiday.
Thursdays. They're Thursdays.
Oh, Thursday, my mistake.
Thursdays.
Even then, I don't know.
Yes, the first Thursday of the month.
You can do it, that'd be great.
Let's see what we can do, Randy, and if it can't be done, we'll make other arrangements, please.
Okay, I'm just looking at the calendar. Yeah, June 1st is next Thursday, so.
Very good. Okay, we'll try to get that if you would, please.
Sure.
It would obviously be helpful if Ms. Ball can get you the one that she had drafted. That would give you a
Absolutely.
good first start. All right, item 1C, which is the discussion of the possible direction of the staff regarding tourism marketing budget.
All right, so I have Jason here from accounting and finance to answer questions. I know Mayor Pro Tem Morona had some questions regarding the numbers, and being that this is the beginning of my fourth week, I don't know that I can answer them accurately or adequately, so he's here to answer any questions.
That excuse is getting old.
I can use it for a while yet.
100 days.
100 days, okay. So anyhow, for questions, one of the questions was asked. It is to answer it is a general fund budget. It has no revenue other than some TOT or other sort of T-bid revenue. So the negative numbers are in fact negative, but that's because it is paid for by the general fund.
Negative means?
It means it costs more than it receives.
It's like if you look at
But the line items say surplus and then deficit in parens, so I'm not sure what it was saying. How much money do we have to spend for the rest of the fiscal year and for next FY for tourism?
I got Mike.
So for the current fiscal year, the main line item of the expense is that one that's on page 3 called tourism marketing expense. And that includes, the Yule Fest was $100,000. We have a contract with the company that runs the visitor center for the $150,000, and then the $300,000 was a purchase order that was put in for the Abbey agency. So it was originally budgeted to be at a deficit. It's still going to be at a deficit. It currently states that we are over the current budget, but that's because the purchase order for Abbey agency is still in there, and it wasn't used in full. So basically, what is available to spend is the leftover, the remaining encumbrance for the purchase order for the Abbey agency, but it doesn't state that on these reports, unfortunately.
Okay, so Jason, can we get that
Microphone.
question answered?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I think what you're saying is you have 710,000, 141,000.
Well, so on here, the
Deficit, but we've only
So currently, the current budget for the tourism fund is this minus 793, which is the deficit is what it's a total budget of 793,000. To date, we've only spent 708,000, but there's also encumbrances tied in there for the Abbott agency, so there's probably even a little bit more than that available for this current fiscal year, ending June 30th.
But that does not include monies that we would owe to Islet and Stiletto for the rest of the year.
And will that fall under this budget code?
Yes.
Yes.
And so could we get just a better accounting, just a table?
Yeah, so this on this budget report that was given to you, there's a detail report that I can create a detail report that goes line by line, specifically for each general ledger account. I can definitely get that to
Yeah,
you.
and I think we only spent 179 of the 300, so we should have.
Correct. It's right. It's around that number. Yep.
Right, I think that's the question we're asking for. 300 was budgeted for Abbey Agency, 179 was spent, so the difference is, and that is a correct number, and I think that's what this group is asking.
Correct. And I don't have the verify of the 179,000 in front of me, but I can get that, and that difference is what's available in the budget. There's also the shortfall of the staffing for the marketing manager that was budgeted for the whole year, and obviously that didn't take effect either. So the difference of what was budgeted for that salary and what was used and compared to what is not is also available as well. So it'd be the Abbey agency as well as the whatever's left over from the marketing manager budgeted salary.
So rough and tough, Jason, is it fair for us to say we didn't spend 120 of the 300 earmarked for Abbey, and we didn't spend about 83,000 because we had that's double counting, sorry. So
Yeah.
that is double counting.
Yeah.
Let's just say we have about 120,000.
Yeah, that's a fair estimate, yes.
Can we get it exact? And that way we know we can say yes to the contract extensions that you're asking, because we know we can't, right? Not that we would, but that we can't. With the money.
And then we also will have budget for next
Right,
year.
and then
That's-
we knew 300.
That's the question. Do we have 300,000 for next year?
Yes, so for next year, the marketing budget is the same as this current fiscal year. Yule Fest 100, marketing 300, visitor center 150.
Right.
The main differences between this current fiscal year and next current fiscal year is the marketing manager position was brought down to a step one entry-level position on the range schedule, so that the marketing manager salary would be a little bit lower than what was budgeted this year. And as well, we added $20,000 to the professional services line, and that was going to be set aside specifically for website design for next fiscal year.
So I guess the question is, since we're all here and budget is on, can we get an accurate budget? And can you go back in and print one out and give it to us before
Yes,
the meeting's over?
This is an accurate budget, but I can get you the detail to the current fiscal year before. I can go right now and print that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was 1C, budget. So 1D was what, no, I'm sorry, we went to 1E, we mixed that all up, didn't we? My apologies, let's go to 1E. That was the discussion of possible direction of the staff regarding the Tourism Advisory Committee's role and filling the current vacancy. We have just tentatively agreed to saying the TAC will be at place at least for another period, another meeting. And at this point in time, I'm not inclined to replace the vacancy. I agree. We'll just do with the very valid folks that we have on the TAC now, and work with them. And we'll continue on later on making a decision about what happens to the TAC. Yes, sir.
May I suggest going forward, next time we are all replaced, that you take in consideration that part of the community.
We lost your mic. Turn it back on. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. That all parts of within the Solvang community have a representation, whether it's the hoteliers, retailers. I think that would really help, and it would speak to the people that we really want to make sure that they have a foot in here too.
If we have I think that comment's pretty important. If we have concurrence on the council, then does that mean we need to change some of the language on the TAC? The TAC definition?
I think it does.
Ultimately, yes.
Well, if you look on page 32, it lists the zip codes for all of these cities that you're allowed to live in and be on the TAC, and it excludes Los Alamos for some reason. Los Olivos, excuse me. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just as an observation, being the new guy, just a thought I had with staff, and assuming we're going to make any changes to the code, that we might consider allowing people who have businesses in those zip codes and not necessarily residents. I mean, they would obviously have a financial interest in making the same work too.
Well, it is.
I mean, I'm not saying it's.
We like the businesses in Solvang, regardless of where they live.
That's what I mean, yeah. But what if they live in Lompoc and they have a business here? They're not on that zip code list.
I know. That we ran into that with one of the applicants last time when we appointed the people to the TAC. She lives in Santa Barbara and is running an organization up here. So it becomes, so that's a question we need to ask everybody.
Maybe if you can't fill the third or fourth seat, then you revisit that zip code. You know, our Fudge friend lives in Goleta, right? But he certainly has a stake in Solvang, that's for sure.
So that's all in the same qualification, section B, 2.5.2B. That's probably what we need to rewrite.
I would even change it nomenclature to say business in the city.
We could just revisit that whole thing.
I think that's kind of what you're saying is, if you have a business in the city, you should be first and foremost wanting to be on this, even if you live in the outlying areas. People have 2 and 3 businesses here in this town, and I know who you're talking about that was denied a seat at the table. We also have representation right now with retail, with catering, restaurant, and we have a retired gentleman that's here but represented hotels for many years. So we are represented. So when we kind of say the businesses aren't represented, that's a false statement to say, and our residents are also represented here at the table too. So I think we need to be careful. This is really for solving tourism.
Public comment on any of this? Yeah, this has been such a loose meeting. Would you like to make a comment, Aaron? Here, take this and make a comment.
The only reason I came was to talk about the makeup of TAC, or Solvang Visitors Bureau, which it was. Aaron Peterson in Solvang. I have some businesses here in town. It's very, very important to get ownership on the TAC. And we had it set up before under the Visitors Board, which I was on for many years, as a lot of people in this audience have been on. And it was very precise. You did not have to live in the city of Solvang or in the valley. You could live anywhere you chose to live, as long as you owned or managed, and they had qualifications: a hotel or motel, a restaurant, specialty food shops, which were bakeries, catering, treats, delis, ice cream, candy. The 4th was retail. Wine and beer was 5. 6 was cultural, performing arts, attractions. Attractions that are PCPA, could be the carts that are rented, could be the horse-drawn carriages, attractions. The key was to add somebody at large. So you had all the industries in town basically falling into that. We do not need a restaurant Los Alamos represented, in all due respect to anybody who has a restaurant Los Alamos who's on the TAC. I have no idea what the makeup is. We need somebody at large. Unbelievable job that he has done as your vice chair. It could be him continuing on. It needs to be somebody also that represents the non-tourist industry. We need somebody who represents people who do not have any vested interest in making money from tourism, because all we do is make them angry. When we shut our streets down, there's no ownership. They get mad about parades or Mother Day's runs, or they get mad at Danish Days and you're shutting down streets. The tourism is not their, it's not their thing. It's not their forte. They may be an engineer, they may be retired, she may be a school teacher in Buellton. Does not matter. We need that buy-in from our community. And when we don't have that buy-in from our community, all the industries, and an at-large person or two folks at large, you're never going to have buy-in. You're going to have people angry at us all the time. And when they get angry enough, they're going to shut down how much money you folks give to advertising, because advertising for advertising's sake. Also, by having these industries represented, even though the hotels are represented by Visit SY, we also need a hotel represented on our TAC, if that's what we're calling it, so that they also have influence as to events. To have events for events' sake is idiotic. You need to pick the events that we need to have, and we need to choose them so we don't tick off all the locals and tourist businesses that might not make money. I was at the triathlon in Morro Bay because my son-in-law ran, and my daughter was up there, and I spent the day talking to businesses. They're like, holy criminy, this is the dumbest event we've ever had from a business standpoint. It was a great thing from a community standpoint. It takes up parking, but you won't know those events. You won't know what to advertise. You won't know where to push the money forward if you don't have our industries represented and an at-large person and maybe a youth. Add number 8. Doesn't have to be an odd number. Have 8 folks. I mean, we deal with it because he's such an outstanding young man. You could have a fool next year, and you still need to have a youth person on that board so that they can help us bring in what the youth and the families are looking for. So if you're going to do a makeup and take that B and throw out that qualifications and start over and come up with a smart qualifications industry-wide, living wherever, because we've had lots of folks. The gentleman who was the manager of Lansby lived in Santa Barbara. He was on TAC. Yeah, Barry was on it, and he did great things. So, I mean, there's the point of that. But we need people from Skip Mesa and other places that care about our town and will tamp us down and keep us in check. So that's, to me, it's a discussion for another day, perhaps, because that's a big one.
Sorry. Yeah. Just to follow up on what Aaron said, I agree with him. But I think an important point was brought up earlier, and I forget who brought it up, and that is that the TAC not be subject to the Brown Act. I think whoever is on the TAC or whoever you decide to pick those people, they need to be able to talk among themselves. They should be able to talk with the public. And I really think that the TAC should be under Randy, perhaps with the event marketing manager as the chair of the TAC. And so that the TAC reports to the city manager, and the city manager reports to the city council. Just to put the city council at a little higher level and not having to run into the nitty-gritty of running everything. You know, you hire good people and put them to work to do the job that you have outlined for them as part of your job of the general approach that you want to see happen. Thank you.
Excellent. Sure.
My name is Denise Elamine, and I guess I would be considered one of the ticked-off residents up in here. I applied for all of the committees, and I was refused because of the pecking order. We have council people who pick who they want. So you can ask for all of this. We need to bring this person in. We need this person. But if they don't pick you and they don't like you, then you can ask all you want. It's about the pecking order, and they get to pick who they want. And if they don't want you, you're not going to get on here. So you have people like me who I will confess I am a pissed off resident because I'm not being heard here. I'm being told what they're going to do with my money, and I have the same recycled committee members who have been here forever. The planning committee, we have 20-year veterans there. We have the planning committee with previous city councils who lost, and now they're on the planning committee. So we have a lot of people who just keep recycling from one committee to another, and that just pisses me off because I haven't been recycled in or out. I just get out. So until you guys look outside of the box and stop recycling these people who feel that they know everything and nothing can run in Solvang without them, and get somebody in here with some new insights and know something, not just played one on TV, then we're going to be going through the same thing. We hired a marketing firm. We gave a contract. I came to 5 meetings. These people came in here and did nothing, and not one of you are holding your hand up and saying, I made a mistake. No, you want to push forward and you want to say, let's just start all over again. We'll make the same mistake because you have the same people. What, did they go to college and get smarter since the last one? No. You're going to get the same results. And that's what I think when you say you're crazy, is that the definition of crazy? You do the same thing over and over, but you expect something different. So please, please, please don't act crazy up in here. Please, please. I just want to be able to go and not have to come up in here every day, all day. Please, can we change our crazy ways? Thank you.
Okay. So we've come, we're at 1E. What do we have left?
We're on E at the moment.
C. All right, sorry. We are? Oh, yeah, sorry.
We're putting that on hold, right?
Yeah. Then we're back to, where's marketing manager?
I think we were at,
Jason, you have the budget stuff?
E is discussion and possible direction to staff regarding the tourism advisory committee's role in filling the current vacancy.
That was
we just did that, Wendy, so I think we need to move to the marketing manager and events position.
That would be B then,
That's
correct?
B, yeah. You with us, Mark?
yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I just printed 6 copies of detail, and you're correct, there's 121,000 left over from the Abbey agency that was not spent. On the line item that says tourism marketing on page 2, it states that there's $162,000 left for spending, but that includes the current contract for the visitor center in there. And they're averaging about $9,500 a month. There's 2 months left, so subtract 18,000 or 19,000 from the 162, and it gives you roughly $141,000 remaining to spend out of the tourism
Still
market.
have Islet and Stiletto.
Well, that will be in there as well. Whatever. So it's 35,000 for one, and
But you would calculate that at the monthly rate through the end of June.
yes,
This is at 141 through,
June 30th, correct.
so it'd be like another $6,000.
Mhm.
For booking. So we have 125,000, roughly? Yeah.
So when we have the money to extend the 2 contracts that we've been discussing, for one thing, and I think most of us have agreed that we need to do that, but I'm going to ask you all to make a final vote on that before we get to it. This was the discussion on having a city manager. Now,
Marketing manager, you have a city manager.
a market.
I was like, what?
Already?
That one slipped out.
How do you feel? My cardiac guy's around the corner.
A marketing manager, yeah. One of the things that we heard Jason just say, there was a reduction in the rate on that. So I'm not even sure that the manager title is appropriate anymore. If it's a marketing director,
Coordinator, maybe.
coordinator, whatever that title might be that fits in there. And to Ms. Arona's comment before, we desperately need an events coordinator. And if those two roles can be put into one position, I think it would help dramatically, because I know Roger's over there trying to handle events and things, and he needs some support. So
Candace?
And Candace and everybody over in the planning area. So from my point of view, I think we need to have that person, except I don't know how to choose that person. And now we need to go back to maybe the TAC members. Sorry, Wendy, yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, it's still a marketing manager position in the budget. However, it was budgeted at a step 3, so within that marketing manager range, there is 1 through 5 steps. So it was budgeted at 3, but for the next fiscal year, we put it back to step 1.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay,
It does.
Here's a question for you, Wendy. By steps, we mean that the pay rate is that?
Pay range.
Okay.
So within, I don't have the range in front of me, but for each position, there is a range, and then within each range, there is a step 1 through 5. And typically, the city hires at the range with step 1, but the past marketing manager was hired at step 3 within that marketing range.
Okay, thank you.
Strange. Yeah.
Right in the middle of the range. is what you're saying.
Okay, but it's been reduced back down to step 1. Right now, that's what the position stands at, and the budget that we're talking about that Jason's addressing is on step 1.
Correct.
Okay,
For next fiscal year, 23-24.
okay.
Here's a question for Steph. When we're talking about marketing manager / event manager, are they gonna be the liaison that talks to the applicant about the event that they're gonna be having, or are they working logistics about where the first date is, street closures, notifying businesses? What is their role in events?
That marketing manager would be handling all that and overseeing. So when an application comes in, they would review everything, like what the event would be, and then they would route it to each department. So to Public Works to do the road closures, and that person would be overseeing and managing that. If they had a special events in the park, that the park was available, that if they had alcohol, they'd have an ABC license. So that marketing manager would be overseeing everything that happened within that event. Whether they need, if they have vendors, then the vendors need insurance. And if they have a parade, then that's a whole different, another event that they would have to be navigating through all the proper procedures.
And I assume also would be responsible for putting it on the events calendar on our website?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, the council's already approved a job description for that position that contains all those duties that you've been asking about. So I'm not sure that there's additional work that the council is looking for to add to that position once it's flown. But ultimately, it's going to be the city manager who hires this position, and this position will be answerable to the city manager. The council will obviously have oversight of the city manager and making sure the function gets done, but the city council's already approved that job description.
Can I ask if one of the responsibilities is to create an integrated marketing strategy for the city?
One of the duties is to oversee and integrate all aspects of marketing and communication programs for Solvang. So that's pretty encompassing. That is anticipated, and there's always going to be the other duties as assigned. I'm sure that if there's something that comes up that is not specifically set forth in that job description, city manager can have that conversation with the incumbent of that position and say, the city council's given direction, I'd like this done. Can you do that as part of your general oversight view of the marketing strategy?
My concern is that a lot of what we've talked about here today are very important tactics and kind of discrete activities. And if you don't have a well-constructed integrated marketing plan or a strategy, you're going to have a lot of activities going off in different directions. And what I heard a lot of, just in this brief conversation, is that a lot of what this marketing manager will be responsible for is very tactical. And I think the reality of finding somebody that can play at that strategic level and really pull all the pieces together, especially when we talk about what's going on in social media these days, how quickly that's evolving, as well as all the other aspects of marketing strategy. I think finding somebody that is willing to be that tactical, which is an important role, don't mistake me. You've got to get the nuts and bolts right. But finding somebody that is willing to do that and then brings the wherewithal to build that high-level strategy, which is really long-term going to be the key solution, in my opinion, to getting the tourism plan right. So I don't know if that should be revisited. I don't know what the salary is that fits with what we're talking about, but given the strategic importance of tourism and marketing Solvang the right way, I would just recommend, just based upon my experience with executive recruiting and things such as that, I would really urge the council to think about, are we putting the right resources behind that marketing bandwidth, that marketing strategy?
When you say the right resources, so that RFP went out a while ago, and we have something over 30 responses to it. The job description posting. So you're speaking to somebody who can evaluate those and see which ones are the right ones, or are you talking about trying to come up with a different way of approaching it?
Not quite sure I understand, but what I'm trying to convey is that you need to have somebody with the capabilities and competencies to be able to operate at a very strategic level, to build that integrated marketing plan, and that can help determine, do you need to go out with a third-party resource, end-to-end resource, or can you have more tactical third-party resources or people involved? I guess my point is, don't underhire for that position.
Can I
because-
respond? John, you're making such great points. You are pointing out that just by making a single hire and based on the job description that we've posted, we are making the hiring decision very difficult because it looks like we're looking for a unicorn. Somebody who is very strategic and has strong leadership skills because they're presenting to the council, they're managing the TAC, and potentially they're managing a contractor, a large contractor, or a number of contracts, and they're doing lots of tactical jobs, like probably, as basic as directing traffic on mission. This is difficult, but until I think we need to evolve to where we might have bigger staff, or we're far more organized on what parts of the marketing plan we've contracted out versus what we have managing. And this is really important. It might mean that we have to emphasize in the hire strong leadership and strong management, and then find help in the staff, to do some of the tactical things, and help from the TAC, which is why I've continued to advocate that we keep a loose definition of a group of resources that help the city accomplish what we need, because asking one person to do it is pretty, it's a pretty heroic ask.
And the other part that came up, I think Dave mentioned it, about accountability and responsibility. It would seem to me, if this were a company I was running, I would have a person that has single point accountability for all things marketing. And that's the person that the city council would go to and say, this is your job, you're responsible, and when things go awry, we're going to hold you accountable. If you have it too distributed, it's really difficult to drive accountability and hold people responsible.
Mark, one comment. It seems like we had this conversation before where at least I pushed hard so we can hire a code enforcement officer. That person can wear the hat of the tactical grade event coordinator, who's a lot of times ex-law enforcement or semi-retired, which falls into that kind of preview, because I completely agree with what John's saying. It's two different hats. One's very technical and one's very managerial and hold accountability. And so maybe you look at your code enforcement person more money to wear both hats, who works with your coordinator.
Mark, can I just say one more thing, too? The litmus test would have been Yule Fest, because there was volunteers on that group. There had almost like 7 people on that committee, and there's no way a marketing manager could have done that all by herself. And that took effort and took volunteers to make that work. So there needs to be support, and that's just going on, and that's just one event. So there just needs to be the support. I think we're all hearing from everybody that there's got to be some support that, and especially the learning curve that person coming in, they're gonna they just have to learn that curve. Okay, so
He's got that excuse down really well.
yeah, he has 100 days according to what you said. So.
Danish Days has been a group effort for years.
Yeah, it's the same old people though.
Okay, but I don't think we're talking about one person being able to splice themselves off on 10 people and all of this, and you have a crew that runs a whole parade. But whoever we hire to do marketing does need to have the skills to close streets, to coordinate volunteers, to reach out businesses. And we're not talking about a unicorn. Before, I was sitting here wearing jacket. I was in the world of Renaissance festivals and music festivals. And I can tell you that organizers, this is what they do. They know budget, they know volunteers, they know logistics, they know marketing. They might not do it all. Obviously, they might hire somebody to do their say social media. They might work with somebody else that is coordinating the volunteers. They know who the guy is that is doing the parking, but they can oversee all that. So we're not saying that they're gonna do it all, but they need to be able to coordinate who does that all. So I think they both have to be able to do marketing and also manage the special events, because they might end up, producing the Jewel Fest not all by themselves. Obviously, they're gonna have a staff. They're gonna work with other departments in the city, but they do need to have those skills.
Mr. Murphy.
I was going to say, as you mentioned a little bit ago, Mr. Mayor, that we have 30-odd applications from the recruitment that was done a few months ago. Brad Bedro graciously decided to let me make the decision related to who that hire might ultimately be. I just got the applications from Wendy last week. I intend to review them. I've already discussed with a couple of individuals in the marketing world about sitting on a panel to help me select this person. What I'm hearing from the group is they want somebody that's not only a marketing guru, but also an events coordinator, and that may get a little more difficult because promoting a Renaissance fair or a music festival there's a marketing aspect to it, but the marketing that we're trying to do is much greater. So, I mean, we're looking for international, obviously. Mostly, again, California, I understand that, but again, looking at the larger picture. So that may be a little bit more of a unicorn than you might think, but I will do my best.
At this point, other comments? Or are we going to?
Should we proceed with that hire?
Well, that's where I wanted to go to, if there's no more comments. Do we want to proceed with the hire, or do we want to put that off for a while until we got a little bit more of a strategy for marketing?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
The applicants that we have, did they know what the original pay grade was, and now it's been knocked down? So, and they're familiar, they're aware of where we're at right now?
The range was advertised. The specific salary was not.
Okay, thank you.
The range and the job description.
Thank you.
So do we proceed forward?
I just have one comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I just recommend that whomever you hire have the marketing background and not just in travel. But I fear that the person may be in travel, but they may have been a salesperson, or they may have had some other title. That does not make them a marketing person.
Good point. Thank you very much, Brenda. This will be, if Randy can put together some other marketing people to help him evaluate the current crop of applicants, that will get us down to something, and if we need to, we can bring in another outside person, somebody that's used to picking out candidates. I don't know. But the question now before all of us is, do we go forward and start this evaluation?
I think so.
Yes. Let's get it going.
Okay, council members say yes. TAC members?
I have one question. Would it be possible for the TAC members to take a look at the resumes of the candidates? Does that cross any boundary?
Since it's going to be the city manager's decision on the hire, that's why you have the interview panels of people kind of in the industry professionals on it to open it up to the TAC. Some of these people may be currently employed and they may not have told their current employer that they're looking for work. So the recruitment process tends to be more confidential in that regard, particularly when it's an internal hire. If this were somewhere that was an outside consultant where there were RFPs being responded to, it might be more appropriate for the TAC to review those evaluations or review those proposals prior to providing a recommendation either to the council or the city manager. In this case, though, I would suggest that it would be better not to open it up in that manner.
I would just say, if you're looking for another person to participate, and I can provide my background, which includes extensive marketing, recruiting, as well as other executive positions, I'd be happy to participate.
Put his name on the books. We'll see if we can use him. Thank you very much,
Yours isn't
John.
one
I
of the
appreciate
resumes in the file,
volunteer.
is it?
No. I'd be happy to help.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about 3 minutes before the ending time of this joint session. We've made only a couple of actually made a couple of significant decisions. We're not done yet, that's for sure.
But the extension, the last item is just the extension of the two contractors?
Correct.
And it's on the consent agenda. We
Right.
could either talk about it then at the 6:30 meeting.
Well, my thought was this body, this group, particularly with the TAC members, provide direction or at least a recommendation to the council, and then it could be on consent. But if you want to talk about it in more detail, we could pull off of consent and talk about it then. So it's certainly up to you.
If no one has any objections, we'll bring it to the council to,
Get the feedback from the TAC members while they're here.
all right, we've got a couple of minutes. TAC members, do you think we should extend the contracts with Stiletto and Islet?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Well, that was a universal yes. That was easy. Thank you.
And if something changes, everyone's comfortable with the 10-day notice to council. That's our
That's part of our standard
option,
contract, yes.
right? Okay. Yeah. Standard, it's standard.
I believe so.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Since Robert's okay with it, it must be fine.
No, it's just the opposite, actually.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, then we will take those contracts into consideration as part of the consent agenda of the regular meeting of the city council, and we will officially end this session, and we'll talk about, we're going to go into closed session right now?
No, the special meeting is set for 6 o'clock, so you've got a half-hour break here.
Okay, that's what I
before we
thought.
go into closed session. We can do the announcement at that point when we open that meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Appreciate the attendance.